all live in a watershed? A what? A watershed. That's right. In fact, here's my watershed. I live in there. Do you want to come in? Wait a minute. My name is Sue Kaufman. I'm an educator on board the Gundalow Piscataqua, and I know that I am not fooling you guys. You know that I do not live in that shed, and it has nothing to do with water, right? So when we think about watersheds, we want to think about the definition of the word shed. In this case, it doesn't mean a building that stores things. Think about a verb, shed. If you have a dog or a cat, or if you've ever noticed how ducks and seagulls don't get soaking wet when they're swimming in the water, I think you'll be able to figure out what I mean by the word shed. So every place on earth is part of a watershed. Watersheds can be big, they can be small, there can be watersheds within watersheds. All you need are three things. First of all, number one, you need land. Does land move? Not too much. Number two, you need water. Does water move? Yeah, water moves a lot in so many ways. Can you think of all the different ways water moves? And then number three, you need gravity. Now, what does gravity do? You got it? Okay, so I'd like to demonstrate how a watershed works. This is my watershed here. And I can see puddles, I can see the pond, I can see Great Bay, but it's not raining. So it's kind of hard to show you right here how a watershed works. I'm gonna turn to my model, my watershed model. So if you have looked at maps of our region, like the black and white one I have here, if you've maybe even made one, you may see how this map, same area that's on my watershed model. I'm going to tilt the map a little bit and let's look at this. So this big black area is what? The Atlantic Ocean. Where is it on the watershed model? You're right, it's right here. Now if we go inland, what river are we going up? The Piscataqua, right. All the way to the Salmon Falls River, the Cocheco River. Now identify them with me. What river is this? Let's check. Bellamy. Let's see, where are we? Oh, we're in Little Bay now. Let's go up this river. What one is that? The Oyster River, all the way up to Durham. Around Adams Point here. What river is this? The Lamprey. Do you live in Newmarket? And whoops. Finally, the Squamscott River all the way to Exeter. And in Exeter, the river continues, but it becomes the Exeter River. So if you live in our Piscataqua watershed, you might even be able to sort of zoom in on where you live. I live right along here in Greenland. This is where I live in our Piscataqua watershed. So what I want to do is demonstrate how land, water, and gravity interact in a watershed. I'm going to make it rain. I've got my watering can with some water, and your job is to watch what the water does. Okay? Ready for the rainstorm? Here we go. Rain, rain, rain. Okay, I think that's enough. So the water's moving, isn't it? All right, now, let's see what you observed. Did all the water stay on the ground? No, it didn't, did it? Did all the water stay in the rivers and the bay? Where did most of it end up? I hear you say Atlantic Ocean. You're absolutely right. Why did it end up down there? Think about that, okay? If you're thinking it has something to do with gravity, you're absolutely right. So now you can see how land, water, and gravity interact in a watershed to bring the water to the lowest place in that area. That's a watershed. I have a question. Do you ever get a puddle in your driveway or the street by your house when it rains? I bet you do, because I sure do. Why do you get a puddle? Think about what we just learned about watersheds. I think you got it. Now you know what a watershed is. Now, before I leave, I'm going to give you 2 questions to ponder. My model has a very smooth, hard surface. Is that like a real world surface? Not at all. Real world, that's a tongue twister, surfaces have fields, lawns, forests, salt marshes, lots of pavement, lots of rooftops. So the rain is landing on all those different surfaces. And I want you to think about if those different surfaces change the way water flows in a watershed. That's question number 1. Question number 2, notice how my watershed model is so clean. Is the ground clean in the real world? No. You have stones, and you have twigs, and leaves. Look at these leaves, and grass. Oh, and trash. Look at that. It's a piece of shingle from my shed. I better get that fixed. And some old newspaper. So all those loose things on the ground, all the debris, what I'd like you to think about is how they interact with the movement of water in a watershed. All right, that's it for watersheds. I hope you can enjoy our watershed activities. See you later, sailors.